Good morning, everyone. My name is Vernetta Mitchell with TRS&I Group, and thank you for attending the pre-proposal conference for RFQ6583 Miscellaneous Professional Services. Just a few housekeeping items. You will be able to put your questions in the chat. You will be able to put your questions in the Q&A, or you can raise your hand and then we will allow you to ask your question. As we are going through the presentation, if you could note your questions and wait until the end of the presentation, we may answer it for you already. And then with that being said, we are going to turn it over to Monty Edwards, who will kick us off.
Great, thank you, Vernetta, and good morning, everyone, and welcome. We are thankful for your participation. We are certainly very excited about this program for Guilford County Schools to build amazing facilities for the students, staff, leadership, and community as a whole. And we feel that you'll get a good amount of information today, and we look forward to potentially working with you. So with that, I will turn it over to our program director, Eric Allen.
You're on mute, Eric.
Thanks for catching that. I've been talking for a while. Well, good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here. And hopefully you're here for the professional services RFQ. If that's the case, you're in the right place. Just real quickly, this should not go very long. We just want to give you a brief overview of the program so you guys know what you are submitting for. And this is, if you look at the screen, you'll see a brief agenda. We'll introduce the team, talk a little bit about what the 2022 GCS bond includes. We'll talk about the RFQ process, a little bit about our MWBE and workforce development, give you some important dates, which are also included in the RFQ, and how to submit the RFQ submittal. And we'll have time for some questions and answers briefly. We can go to the next slide. I appreciate it. All right, so from the GCS side, we have John Simmons, who is over facilities and maintenance, Senior Executive Director. We have Jean Sides, Executive Director of Planning, Design and Construction, Ms. Felicia Moore, Director of Purchasing, and Dr. Kimberly Funderburg, Senior Director of MWBE and Operational Support. I don't know, other than Felicia Moore, if any of the other ones are on here. John, Jean, or Dr. Funderburg, any of you on the call?
This is Jean. I'm on the call.
Okay, thank you. All right. So you have Jean Sides and Felicia Moore on who represent. So if you've seen the Gaddy V email address, that's Ms. Moore. That's where your questions should be going, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the presentation. All right. All right, on the project manager office, which is us, you heard from Monty Edwards, who's the project executive. Myself, I'm the project director. My deputy director is Scott Mincy. And over on the diversity side and MWBE and workforce development portion of our joint venture, you have Rachelle Lattimore, the chief diversity officer. And you have Vernetta Mitchell, who actually you heard earlier kick everything off. And then Thomas Griffiths, who works for one of our joint venture companies, Brownstone, and he is the senior project manager on this program. He also is project director for the maintenance side of things, which we'll have some projects. This particular RFQ will affect both of them. So for the entire $1.7 billion, he'll be representing as a project director for that particular side of it. All right, so what is in the GCS bond? So last year, Guilford County passed a $1.7 million school bond referendum to coincide with the $300 million that they did the year before. So the bond was designed to address the critical safety and upgrade and replacement of schools that were sorely in need of maintenance and care. So it was broken down into two pots. One was around roughly $500 million for maintenance, And the other was 1.2, 1.3 billion for new schools, as well as complete renovations of schools. So, and if you look here, you can see about 363 million of it was for critical safety and technology upgrades at the schools. And the critical safety also includes security. Construction of 3 new schools on new sites, rebuilding of 18 existing schools, complete renovation of 13. And of course, part of the maintenance is to do ongoing repairs as needed, stuff that needs to happen every year. Roofs need to be replaced, HVAC, plumbing, those type of things where life cycle replacements. Next slide, please. All right. So although, you know, this may or may not pertain to your particular project, if you are selected, just want to let you guys know, because I know sometimes it makes a difference in how you provide the services, that we are going to deliver at least these first 9 projects that we have on the list, and you'll get to see those here in a second. They're going to be in the construction manager at risk delivery method. You know, part of, you know, going through the process of doing CMR is that it allows us to bring on the construction company early and help identify any risk, help with cost control, and to kind of manage constructability of the project. So just wanted to make sure everybody that was on here that was providing any responses to the RFQ that we are going to use a CM on these projects. All right, so evaluation process. And this is detailed in the RFQ. If you guys have a copy of it, you can look at it. You know, we're going to wade through the items that are included in it, which is, you know, consultants' understanding and of GCS desires and general approach to completing the work. Your experience will weigh into it. Your staff, the qualification of the staff that you're going to assign to this project. Go to the next slide, please. Demonstrated ability for your company to provide high quality work, which you'll give us some ideas with some of your references, and also a major component of the evaluation process will be minority participation. All right, so we want to make sure that we are doing what we said we were going to do as far as doing the outreach and actually surveying the environment to find some minority companies that are qualified to do the work. All right. And of course, go back one real quick. You can go back to, there you go. Just want to make sure that everybody understands that we may or may not do interviews on this one, depending on what we get. Our goal is to have more than one company for each particular professional service, and we will, of course, divvy out the work as needed to make sure that it's equally spread out amongst those companies. For instance, if we want to do surveys, we may decide to go with 3 or 4 surveying firms, and we will split the work up and give it out equitably. All right. Scott, are you on?
Yes.
All right, so Scott Misc is the Deputy Program Director. Scott, if you want to jump in here and kind of go through the projects that we've been assigned up to this point in the 2022 bond.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, as everyone can see the screen, these are the 9 schools that have been approved for us to move forward on. They are in order of a master facility plan. You know, it doesn't mean that things may not change once we kind of, you know, get into this process. You will see by and large, most of these are rebuilds and elementary schools with going to be an estimated roughly 110,000 square feet. That rebuild will be on site. All of these, with the exception of one, is new construction on a on new land. The others are literally tear down rebuilds on existing sites. The intent is to obviously be just, you know, GCS is, while they want innovative buildings, they also understand, you know, we need to make sure that we're building brick and mortar buildings with steel. I mean, some of these, some just basic construction. You will see here we've already assigned some of our project managers internally. All of them are on this call. And then you see the designer that GCS has chosen for each school that will be working with the various other vendors. Like I said, most of these should be pretty straightforward. We'll get into more specifics, obviously, as the projects begin. Thanks, Eric.
No problem. I wanted to just make sure that that it's clear that we are selecting professional service firms for not just these particular schools, but also the maintenance program, which I said earlier is about $500 million worth of life cycle replacements, as well as safety and security upgrades. So this particular RFQ is for both of those programs. Sorry, go ahead. And I think we're going to hand this over to our MWBE experts. If you want to jump in, either Vernetta or Rachel.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. And again, Vernetta Mitchell, TRS&I Group. So as you can just imagine, this is a very great opportunity, I should say, for many firms with several scopes. Scott and Eric kind of talked about very high level what those scopes are. And so TRS&I, as a partner with MEG and CBRE, Guilford County Schools, and Brownstone, we will be working very closely with the team to ensure that we identify various packages, that we assist with outreaching and informing the MWBE community about the upcoming opportunities and packages and pre-qualification, the whole 9 yards. So we encourage you to stay engaged, look out for our emails, look out for our phone calls as these packages become more developed, and provide that opportunity. We are encouraging joint ventures for the CM at Risk project. So if you are in that space as a CM or general contractor, we encourage you to outreach to some other firms that you could potentially joint venture with. So that's strongly and highly encouraged. Also want MWBE firms to also think about partnering, maybe creating a joint venture, definitely having a partnership on these projects and the various packages as well. We can talk more about that and assist with kind of thinking through how do you create that partnership for the scalability of growing your firm, as well as bidding on larger projects. There will be MWBE goals that will be established per project. So there's no overall just target goal applied to everything. We will individually look at each project and we will determine the goals there based on the scope and based on the availability of MWBE firms that perform those scopes of work. So as the packages roll out, you will begin to see the goals, and they will vary. That's very important to note. They will vary. And then the MWBE requirements will be in effect: outreach, engagement, negotiating in good faith, making sure that you have all your documentation in order. So that will be part of the compliance piece, or the bidding piece. And then there will also be compliance as well, to ensure that MWBE firms that are identified at commitment at bid time, as well as making sure that they are actually performing a commercially useful function on the project, and ensuring that they get paid and get paid on time. So that is how we work with the team and you to make sure that the projects that you are successful on are successful for you as a company. We are going to be offering a series of professional development opportunities for firms to engage, some virtual, some in person. And I talked a little bit about this a second ago, where we're going to really kind of help understand how to partner and create joint ventures for some projects, for larger projects. We're also going to be assisting with the pre-qualification application in terms of making sure that you have all of your documentation in order to submit for pre-qualification. Also, we'll have bidding and estimating, financing, planning, bonding. We're working with a couple of bonding companies to help us structure a program or a package so that bonding will not be as intimidating. It may still be a little intimidating, but maybe not as intimidating. And so all of those operational controls on what it will take to successfully manage and run and complete your projects as you work on these. Then I'm going to turn it over to Rochelle to talk more about the workforce development initiative that we have. You're on mute, Rochelle.
There we go. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We are certainly excited about our workforce development initiative for Guilford County Schools and for the community as a whole. So this initiative, of course, is to further expand within Guilford County, as well as to provide the needed upward mobility and opportunities for the county and surrounding areas. Our team has engaged multiple premier workforce development partners to help us in this endeavor. And we're extremely excited about it. So our program objective and guidelines is to promote partnerships between our prime and subcontractors, as well as to increase local hiring. We understand, and you understand, that 1.7 billion is a great deal of money to come out of your particular area. And with that, we want to make sure the economic development is upfront. And we want to also make certain that we are employing those individuals who are unemployed or unemployed. And so this is a great initiative to make certain that we move forward in making sure the employment of your individuals within your county is increased. And so one of the objectives is to make certain that a success story for us would be that an individual who joins on as a OJT, a workforce development candidate, is able to have at least 1 year of continuous employment on our projects. And so that's one of the guidelines for being able to do that. In addition to that, do I have a next slide, Renata? And in addition to that, here are some of our partners here: Guilford County Works, Goodwill Industry, WRLP, Occupational Heroes, Tiny Houses of Greensboro. And what we've elected to do with them, and we are very excited that they have agreed to partner with us. And what we have elected to do, these organizations, for the most part, already have some training programs in place. Occupational Heroes has an HVAC training class that they incorporate. Tiny Houses also has a program where they train students or individuals to work on our construction projects. WRLP and Guilford Works have resources for childcare, transportation. There are even some assistance as far as paying wages for a particular period of time. So we're excited about that. I think Guilford Works, there's a program, one that they have, that they can supplement their wages for the first 3 months. If they move into a workforce development or OJT program, they can supplement salaries from anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, as well as they're able to offer some childcare assistance. And so we're very excited about this opportunity. Our ask is, of course, is going to be that everyone who participates on a contract hire at least one underemployed individual to work on their project. And as we move forward, just contingent upon how long your contract is, we will look to increase those particular numbers. We're really excited that we've already had some conversations with some of the potential contractors who hopefully will be able to secure some opportunities in working on some of the Guilford County Schools projects. Some of them already have some internal training programs, and we are wanting to be able to tap into those particular programs There'll even be situations where if you have individuals that you know are underemployed or unemployed, and you want to put them in that program, then we will allow that as well. So we will monitor this particular process. We will monitor the individual's time and how much they are working on a project. We will look at your engagement, the training process, and we will monitor this on a monthly as well as we will report it out on a quarterly basis. So again, we are extremely excited about this initiative, and we look forward to the participations. I'm not sure, do we have any of we'll introduce them later. I think we have some of our community workforce development partners in attendance. So Jason is here. So thank you, Jason, for participating, but we'll give an opportunity for you to speak later.
And I just
Thank you.
want to add the Workforce Development Initiative and Program is for every contractor on the project. So if you're working as a prime or a sub, you can absolutely take advantage of this workforce opportunity and initiative. So if you need employees, skilled labor for your scope of work or your project, you absolutely can participate in this program as well. Eric, back to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we do have a couple of questions in the questions box if somebody, Vanetta, on your side wants to address those.
You want to do those now? You want to do those at the end?
We can knock out the first two, I think, really easy.
Okay.
There's only two in there. Yeah.
Okay.
So
And then we have a
Jason
couple
Norris,
in the chat as well. So the first question is, can the recording of this be sent out to the attendees to share with colleagues that were not able to attend?
I mean, I have no problem with that. It's up to you. You guys send it out to anybody? Can you give them a link to it?
We could send them out. Yeah.
All right. Any objections on your side, Ms. Moore or Jean?
I don't have.
I have
any.
none.
All right. Was that, I couldn't hear you, Felicia. What was that?
I don't have any objections to that.
All right, right. So we can send it out then. Do you have the ability to send that out?
We will have to send it through a link because it will be large, but we will do our best to send a link. We'll probably post it on a private YouTube page or something of that nature, but we'll figure it out and we'll send it out to the attendees.
All right.
Before we get going, I do want to do our disclaimer. Any verbal responses you receive today are not official unless they are in writing. So today you can absolutely ask your questions, but we highly encourage you to ensure that you submit your questions in writing for an official response.
And they need to go through Miss Gaddy, and I'll have her email address up here in a
Yeah,
second.
it's in this deck. Yep.
All right. And then the second question is about submitting. From Jeff Elliott, confirm submit all services in one proposal. I prefer not. I would anticipate that you would have one if your company does more than wants to submit for more than one professional service, then I would say have a submittal for each one separately. It just makes it easier for us whenever we try to break it down and figure out what you actually want to be considered for. All right. If we're okay, we can move. Oh, one other thing, just want I know that we are doing another question just popped up, I think.
Yeah, so there was one in the chat as well, and I'm not sure if this is the same question, but it says under purpose and background statement 1.0, is my company allowed to submit on 2 or 3 professional service specialty areas, or do we need to be able to provide all the services listed? I think you just addressed that.
Yeah, they need to be separate. You can submit for as many as your company actually does. They need to be separate though.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Here's another one. You see it? It says, do you need MEP submitted separately too?
Yes, same thing. That's why I was answering that one too.
Same thing. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. Just for clarification, I know we are, as a group, leadership and for the PMO, we are doing 2 different presentations today, and there's a little bit of an overlap just want to clarify, nobody asked the question, which is great. Bonding is not required for professional services. You do have to have, of course, the required insurance, liability insurance or whatever is required by the in the RFQ, but you do not have to have bonding to provide professional services. Just want to clarify that for one piece, in case there's any confusion. All right. Oh, so important dates. So these are also detailed in the RFQ as well. The first date is the pre-proposal meeting, which you guys are here, so you've made that one. The next one, the questions are due on August the 8th at noon, and they are to go to GaddyV@gcsnc.com, and we'll show that link again. If somebody can put it in the chat, that'd be great. So we'll have it. Well, go back one.
Sorry.
Important thing I need to cover, because there will be a change. Mistake on my part is that proposals were originally due on the 18th, which is and we'll do an addendum that will say it's changed to 8/21. The school system is working 4 days a week, and that's the last 4-day week that they have before the school year starts. So instead of being August the 18th, which is a Friday, we're going to move it to the Monday. So give you guys that weekend in order to get it done, and it'll be at 2 o'clock on August the 21st, and you will get an addendum that says that. Let me go to the next one. All right, so submittals. All right. We need 3 hard copies and 1 electronic Adobe PDF on a flash drive. And those are to be delivered to Guilford County School. And you see the address on there, Felicia Moore, Purchasing Director. They need to be labeled with the RFQ6583 miscellaneous professional services. So that needs to come to her. And you can send it any kind of way you want to. I guess you can drop it off as well to the 501 West Washington Street, but no later than 2 o'clock. So if you're going to do overnight, make sure that you get priority overnight, that it gets there about 2 o'clock. If it's received after 2, they will not be accepted. Is that correct, Ms. Moore?
That is correct.
All right. All right, next slide, we could. All right, so if you want to write that down, you can. You'll have a copy of this presentation as well, or somebody can put it in the chat. That'd be great. The email address that you need to ask any questions, they need to go through her. The official answers will all come through Ms. Moore. So any questions, your official questions, and we will respond, or she will respond with an answer that everybody, if you're registered with her, she will send out a response to everybody. All right, so we're open for any questions. Vanetta, if you're going to handle that.
Okay, so the one at the top of the list is security bids broken down by category, and then it has IE, but I'm not sure. Tim, you want to elaborate on that question a little bit? Let's see.
Renetta, he does have a second section that says cameras, access, and security film. Is that bundled or broken down for bids? It'll be broken down.
Okay, thank you. All righty. The next question is, will a pre-qualification be required to participate in these projects, in the miscellaneous professional services?
No.
Okay, fantastic. Do the same requirements apply for professional design services as the bidding contracting firm discussed in regards to minority participation and workforce program?
No. So, well, I'm trying to understand the question there. For professional services is not a contract that you can bid. So we don't bid that. It's performance-based selection. So if the question is, are we bidding anything? We're not bidding anything. So like I said, there's some of the things that were discussed that are more pertaining to the second presentation we're going to do today than it does to this one. But there are opportunities for workforce development that Terrace and I talked about, that if you guys are trying to augment your staff or recruit new employees, please reach out to our workforce development. Look at that as an opportunity to add to your workforce.
And so Eric, I just want to ensure we make sure everybody understands the professional services will have an element of MWBE outreach and inclusion. And so if you are bottom line, if you're submitting an RFQ, RFP, ITB on a back of a napkin, if you're submitting a quote, you should always be prepared and ready to have MWBE participation included. So that's just everything. Workforce is available for all scopes as well.
And if I may add real quickly, I'm sorry, Vernetta. Workforce in regards to hire, we're talking about local hire to be considered for this particular initiative, local hire. Now, of course, we promote you hiring outside, but we are looking for local hire within Guilford County.
Thank you. Question, are final cleaning bids also due August 21st?
Final cleaning. That was not one of the professional services that we had listed that I can recall in the RFQ. But I would say this, and Vanessa, you probably can jump in here. If somebody is interested in doing final cleaning for construction, they should definitely register with you so you can provide their contact information to anybody that's looking for somebody to do that kind of work.
Absolutely.
Not just for the professional services people, but for the larger construction projects as they move on.
Absolutely. Absolutely, that is correct. Will commissioning include MEP and building envelope commissioning or MEP only?
We discussed both, so I would say yes, both.
Okay, both. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Can geotechnical engineering and construction materials testing / special inspections be submitted as an SOQ, or do you require separate SOQ for geotechnical engineering and construction material testing and special inspections? Just want to clarify.
I'll kind of lean towards Chuck. You think all of it be the one? Just have one submittal for that?
I think you might want to have two, Eric, because we could have a geotechnical, report done and have somebody else do all the materials testing.
But if they put down that they'll do either, I guess they put qualifications for either, do you want to have a separate pool for each one or have one company that could possibly do both if we needed them to?
I mean, ideally, it would be the same company that does the geotech report that would do the testing for us. I think ideally. So maybe we should let those be combined.
Okay, so they can be combined.
Yeah. But I don't want to limit, if somebody is just a geotechnical engineer that doesn't do the testing.
Right.
I don't want to limit the pool either, so.
Yeah. So that, so now I'm back to the original. So let's have them separated and please send that question in writing. But yes, I would say separated, and if any opportunity to have one company do both, we will look at that.
Okay.
I agree.
Next question, will minority firms who specialize in AI assist with safety and security be considered as a potential scope element? Well, I mean, we can't answer a question now. We definitely can take it offline and have that.
I think that's a question beyond what we were asked to do, and I hadn't really thought about it, and maybe because I'm a little old school, still catching up with the AI portion of that, other than using AI for like facial recognition, those type of things. Let us get with the owner and find out. I don't know if there's something that Gene that you're ready to answer right now. Maybe we can look at it a little more in depth at another point. So definitely put that question in writing and maybe give us an example of how AI would assist in that.
Okay. My DBE application is pending and I am an SPSF and SBE. Does that disqualify my firm? So I can answer that one loud and clear. You can pre-qualify regardless of your certification status. This is an open competition or open process. So continue your DBE application, but it does not matter if you are DBE, MBE, Hub, whatever certification you have, whether you have it or not. This is an open competition. Anybody and everybody can pre-qualify for these packages.
Can I add on to that, Vernetta?
Yes, ma'am.
But if you're seeking to be considered as a minority, a woman-owned firm, you would want to seek out your Hub certification with the Department of Administration. Your Hub certification is a designation that we will relate to on these particular projects.
Thank you.
Right. One thing that actually Thomas just brought to my attention that I want to make sure, if you are an engineering firm that specializes in MEP, and I don't want to use an example, but if your company does all three, then one package is enough, and just list that you do all three, which a lot of engineering firms are consultants for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And I may have said earlier this, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to separate it if that's what you do.
Okay. Next question. Will shuttle services be needed for staff working on these projects? Probably not professional services, but definitely once we get to construction, maybe.
I'm not understanding the question.
So shuttle services like on-site parking may not be allowed.
Oh, okay, got you.
So definitely want to make sure, Mr. Smith, that we have your contact information, the scope of work you do. So if that is an opportunity, once we get to construction, we can definitely make sure that you're aware of that opportunity.
And Vernetta, you can briefly speak about the fact that we will have outreach sessions. You may have done that earlier too as well. There will be upcoming outreach, multiple outreach sessions where we will put you in a room with the CMs and designers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric, for saying that. Yes, this is not the only time that you will hear about these projects. Through the life of this bond management program, we will be having outreach sessions specific to each contract that we're letting. So there will be more opportunity to learn more. Okay, Eric, I see you're answering. Would you like one submission for MEP, one for?
Yes.
Yeah, you're answering that one. Yes. The next question, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead and get the next one, if you will.
Okay. As a safety and health company who is a MBE, do I send a bid or register with you to contract with the various organizations? I'm not exactly sure I understand. Anybody can interpret that question?
The one from Ron Vick?
Yeah.
I think that would, is he talking about doing like a safety program for the contractors, maybe?
Well, it says safety and health company.
With the various organizations. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna make this a lot faster. Ron, I'm gonna allow you to talk. Please verify your question or elaborate on your question.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Sorry if the question wasn't clear enough. We provide several things. We provide health and safety professionals to staff the project, as well as training services. So I know with a lot of these bids is really for a lot of trades, but we're like a professional services. So do we have to submit a bid to provide staffing for safety professionals on that site, or to provide training services?
So
how would we go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a couple of questions. One, I would say if this is during construction that you would come in and provide stuff on a construction site. I don't know if we have in the past, if the school district has required a bid package to be put together for that type of service. But definitely reach out to Vernetter's staff and give them some information about what you do. This particular RFQ would not apply to you, but there sounds like there's other opportunities once we get to the construction portion of our projects that your services may be required.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, asbestos and lead were not specifically mentioned, but are they to be considered for this?
Hazardous material, I think, was included in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we had hazardous material. Yeah, I think
Yes,
asbestos
yeah.
and lead. We definitely want that.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. For MEP commissioning, building envelope commissioning, professional services, does the client anticipate keeping independent third-party commissioning only as with the project in the past, or consider commissioning by the engineer of record?
We will hire a separate commissioning service to do the commissioning on the building.
Mhm.
And that's part of what we're doing now, selecting companies that could be our commissioning agent.
For the projects,
I don't say that they will be retained by the owner. They, as third party, they will not be retained by the architect or the engineer of record.
for the projects listed on the slide, are there not already MEP engineers that are part of the architect's design team?
Yes, but this also would apply to the
Maintenance.
projects that are on maintenance side that do not have those particulars. For instance, we may have a chiller replacement or some kind of mechanical job we need to do, and we'll hire an engineer to design and oversee the project versus hiring an architectural firm that would hire an engineer to do that. So, you know, MEP companies may have to provide a proposal to, you know, to go into, you know, Grimsley, and we want to redo the chillers or something like that, replace the chillers. So they may go and have to do that, or we may decide to go in and not only do the chillers but add some controls. So we'd have to have an engineer for that as well. So
Fantastic. And so I'm trying to go through the chat. Oh, I love the networking in the chat. Keep it going.
there are other opportunities. There's one from Jackie Greenlee. Are there other opportunities, perhaps smaller, that would not require RFQs? Yeah, so you will probably have, well, this RFQ kind of handles all the smaller versus, and when you say smaller, maybe you can get her on, or I'm guessing that's a she, but it may be a he. And I apologize if I'm
I
wrong.
don't see Jackie. Somebody.
I just moved her over. She's able to talk now.
Okay.
If you can elaborate on what you consider smaller.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Like perhaps during the summer where schools need painting of different rooms or buildings, those
Okay.
kinds of things.
I got you. So maybe, I don't know if Jean or Felicia can speak to how a painter may want to get on your vendor list or whatever you do.
Jean, if you're talking, you're on mute.
Okay, was the question posed to me?
No. We were asking Jean.
Asking the staff about Jean or Felicia. Felicia, you have a vendor list
Jean
for
just
like
came off
whenever there's
mute.
painting projects or something they want pricing on?
Yeah,
Do I
we
have
would,
what kind of list?
A vendor list or like for painters? Go ahead, Jean. Jean was going to answer. Go ahead, Jean.
yeah, we're compiling the list from a construction perspective for painters and small subs that we could utilize during the summer as well as during winter breaks, as well as school closures. Whenever we have an opportunity that arises, that we can contract this out third party.
Right. So, yeah, so Jackie, if you are registered with with Vanetta and Rachel with TRS&I as part of this, they can share your specialty with the maintenance department, I guess, who handles that. And they would pass on or share their database with them so they can look at it. And that doesn't stop you from reaching out to the maintenance department and letting them know that you're available to do painting. And some of those things will come out in an RFQ. I don't know how small they have to be, whether they go directly. That's more of a district initiative on how they handle, let's say, a $20,000 painting job. And Felicia, I don't know, do you guys usually RFQ that out, or do you go directly to the list and just get pricing from painters? Yeah, Felicia, if you're talking, you're on mute. I don't hear you.
No, she's not on mute.
Okay.
Okay, we'll figure out that process. Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, will someone follow up with me, or do I need to reach out and contact the maintenance department? I just want to know the process.
If somebody from TRS&I can help her with that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
will.
Jackie, I just posted my email address in the chat. You feel free to email me information about your business's contact information, okay? And
Thank
that
you.
goes to anyone. That's available to anyone.
John Simmons.
I'm on here, so you can, if you'll email it to me too, because I do handle the maintenance
There
requests.
you go, John. I didn't realize you were on, John. I appreciate it.
That's fine. If you have any small projects, if you'll email your information, like when we bid them out, we have a process that we go for projects under 30,000 that we do. And yes, if you, whatever your business is and what you do, if you'll put your information there, we'll give you a call when we get ready to bid little projects out like that and put you on our list.
Okay, and who is this now? I'm
So that's
trying to-
John. So John, we'll get it to you. Yeah,
John Simmons and
yeah, John.
Okay,
We'll
I
get it to you,
appreciate it.
John. So Jackie,
Thank you.
if you could respond to Will, we're gonna consolidate all of the information, and we'll share it with John and Felicia and the whole team. But we want to save you the work of trying to send it to 15 different people. Send it to Will, and then we'll make sure it gets distributed to the entire team.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. There's a quick question. Can you please share the point of contacts for designers and CMs to partner with?
So it's on the CMs have been not been selected yet. So we are out of RFQ out to get those as well. Designers are on that on the slide a little further up, but we will have this recorded as well. So if you want, I guess you can share that page if you want to, Vanetta, or you can just share the recorded with them. If you go back to that page, it's in there. There's a list of the designers that are selected for each one of those. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. All right, and we'll send this PowerPoint out with the recording.
Yeah, we won't know the CMs until September.
That's right. But it would be a good idea if you are able to join the pre-proposal conference for the CMs and see who is interested, and you might talk with them and start that conversation early as they're preparing their responses. Will CM projects have an individual goal, or will 12.5% be the comp? So we talked about that. So there will be project-specific goals established for each project. And didn't see any information in the RFP about workforce development. Yes, it will be added as an addendum for workforce. Let's see, let me scroll
So
down.
there's a question in here about the RFQ, and I'm not understanding it from Martin. Is there a final list of disciplines sought? The one-page RFQ documents list several, and I'm not sure what the one-page RFQ is unless it's the ad. But some don't appear in the full RFQ list. There's a list on page, on the third page. Is it third page? Second page. under section 1, purpose and background, there's a list of all of them there.
What page?
Section 1 is on page 3, section 1. So 1.0 right there. There's a list right there. See it? Starts with structural engineering and ends it with remediation. And you can highlight if you want, just so they can see it. Yeah, start with mechanical and electrical, MEP. Yeah, and goes all the way down to remediation. Yeah, so that's the list there.
After the firm submits qualifications and is approved as a service provider, will there be a separate submittal process for specific projects, or will a provider be selected for the approved list, quote unquote?
The last sentence, you're correct. There will be an approved list. We will have a list of providers. I think I mentioned that earlier, and we will select from there. So our goal is to have multiple companies for each discipline, and then we can assign them, equitably across the board. So, for instance, we may have one surveyor on Sumner, another surveyor on Lindley, and another one on Swan. Conversely, we may have, somebody doing asbestos testing on 2 of the schools, but not on all 3. So, and then we will, shift and have somebody else surveying another school. So, we'll get it equitably across the board. So everybody will get a chance to perform.
And I think this addresses the other question, or the next question. Is there if there's abatement to be done, will it be done under open contract firms, or will it be up for bid? Will there be an option to add more abatement firms?
Yeah, it's going to be a just kind of crystal ball and things. It will be a combination of both. There'll be some abatement that will happen through the GC contract, and then we will do some as a school district, and it should be fall under probably both programs, the construction program as well as the maintenance program. There'll be some overlap there, the opportunities on both. So same thing with underground storage tanks. Some of those may be removed under the GCS contract, and some will be as part of the GC's work.
So there's a comment in the chat that says the list in section 1 is different than the list in section 5. So we will definitely take a look at that for consistency. I don't see how to send this information directly to Will, so I'm setting up TP host and panelists. I'm not sure what that means.
I've got it here. I've got it pulled up here.
Okay. All right. Let's see if there's any more questions in the chat. Suzanne asked, she doesn't see the written answer. MEP is one submission. Will commissioning for MEP systems need to be submitted separately? We talked about that. And just to answer her question, just because she didn't hear it the first time. Eric. You're on mute, Eric. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Let me see if I can unmute him.
I just asked him to unmute.
You have a hand raised from Belonder Foster.
Okay, well, hold on 1 second. We're dealing with another question already. There was someone that says they didn't see the written answer. MEP 1 submission. Will commissioning for MEP systems need to be submitted separately? So that's a question for you. I know we answered it already, but somebody asked it again in the chat. So we've got a couple things going on. We have the chat going, we have the Q&A going. So we're managing one at a time, and then hand raising going. So I think we answered the question that they're submitted separately, right?
Well, MEP design would be one submission and commissioning would be another.
Exactly. Thank you, Chuck. Okay. All right, so I think that's all the questions in the chat. Let me go over and see who has their hand raised.
Ms.
All
Foster.
right, Ms. Foster, you can ask your question.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hi. I had additional question regarding the, for example, the safety and the security systems. Is there a list of information showing the specific requirements regarding security and safety systems for each building? Or when we submit, do we only submit our quals based on providing that service? And the same for special inspections. So we just submit rates and quals? And is there a list of what types of special inspections? Because that can cover a large range of inspection types. Thank you.
So let me talk about special inspections. I guess you should put down everything that you provide for special inspections. So we would hire special inspectors. Of course, we may have, depends on, what we ask you to do will depend on what the building type is. If we're low bearing masonry versus, steel construction, your special inspection services will be different. Of course, you'll still have concrete and other things like that you'll have to do, maybe some soil testing. But yeah, list all your qualifications when it comes to that. We will hire one special inspection company to handle all of that. And of course, they're required by code. You have to have one before you even give you a building permit. You have to have somebody to do the statement of special inspections. And Thomas, if you want to talk about what you were looking for as far as security. And Thomas, you disagree with me about the commissioning?
What was that? I'm sorry.
You had a different take on the commissioning, or?
Yeah, I think Chuck said it as well. The MEP would be one package.
Oh, okay, gotcha. We're talking
And
about
then commissioning would be separate.
I got you. So we're good there. So so you want to talk about security real quick?
So security, as far as it'll be several different things. Cameras, security vestibules, and then communication upgrades. So there are a few different security projects that will be available.
Access control.
Access controls as well.
Yeah.
And visitor management. Those are the ones. Yeah.
So in that vein, do we submit just our quals and rates or just quals to provide those services?
No rates. No rates.
Just quals.
Just all quals. And what was the last one you mentioned? Access controls. There was one. Is it visitor?
Visitor management. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And just so you know, the district, I think, already has a standard. So you would be extending services to wherever they need to put them.
Okay. Is there a way to access that standard where that is?
Unless John or Jean knows what it is, we'll have to get that back to you at some point. It's a company, and I'm not sure what the company is. But of course, whatever we do, we'd have to have somebody to pull the wiring and that type of thing. So visitor management, they have a vendor that they work through, of course, because they want to have it centralized and have one system for the entire school district. Access control is similar. And I can't tell you off the top of my head who that is right now. Unless John or Jean can, we can get that back to you later if you put it in writing.
Okay, thank you.
Get it back to her. I'll have to check with Mike Ritchie.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are all of the questions and answers. Eric, I'm going to pull back up the slide for a second. I think it would be a great idea for us to reiterate the important dates.
Yes.
Let me pull that back up.
Mm-hmm.
And switch sharing.
Bernetta, you have two more questions in the Q&A.
Okay, they just popped in. All right. GP Supply, is a minority mechanical and plumbing material supplier. What is the best way to position with the mechanical and plumbing prime subcontractors to provide pipe, valves, fittings, and fixtures? This would be a second tier ? And so, Antonio, we do have you on the list. And so one of the ways is if you can identify the MEP contractors that are on this call today, you can definitely reach out to them directly. But we will also have a list available to anyone interested in identifying potential MWBE firms to partner with. We'll be happy to help you identify those companies. And I know we have you on the list, Antonio.
Yeah. And Mr. Wallace, also, there are opportunities, like I said, we're gonna have outreach where we'll have the CMs as well as any of their subs that they end up hiring, and they'll be at these meetings as well. So, you know, whoever gets the plumbing contracts or whoever they're considering will be at these meetings as well. So there'll be an opportunity to network with them and to let them know what you provide. And we, as a team, we are committed to make sure that any outreach, especially local outreach that we can make happen, we will.
Yep. And the other question, will or is there a bid for safety and security film?
So that is a, well, there are opportunities for that to happen. We don't have a bid yet, but that is something, if you provide those type of services, definitely list your name here. We will be bidding some of that. I just don't know if it's going to be, and that's something Thomas could probably speak to, I guess, whether it's going to be just film or would it be a part of a larger project that would include security vestibule construction, adding additional security cameras. In other words, would it be a more inclusive construction project, or will it be a separate project? There may be some opportunities for separate. And that would be, I would consider that to be a bid opportunity, not necessarily a professional services RFQ. Would you agree with that, Thomas?
I agree.
Yeah. So you need to, if you do that kind of service, get your information over to TRS&I so they can distribute it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. And just 2 minutes over, but I think the conversation was fantastic. Pre-proposal today, questions due August 8th by 12 o'clock. So specific questions that you have today, remember that the verbal responses you received today are unofficial until they are given to you in in writing in an addendum. So please submit your questions in writing. Proposals are, as of the document, due the 18th, but it will be changed to the 21st, which will also be in addendum 1. Eric, Monty, anything else? Valicia, anything else that we need to say before we close out the meeting?
I'll just quickly say, team, thank you so much to what we call the Program Management Office team. Great job, good presentation, great job answering questions as well. Certainly to GCS leadership, thanks for joining. Valicia Moore, Gene Sides, John Simmons, and last but certainly not least, everyone that joined this call to hear about this program, to get more information. As was mentioned by the team, there will be more sessions, outreaches, and things of that nature. But feel free to communicate with the team, formally with submittals, questions to Felicia, as mentioned, and through the TRS&I group, who's compiling a lot of this information for us. But with that, thank you so much. And we look forward to working with you on this amazing program for Guilford County and Guilford County schools. Thank you.
Thanks, Monty. One other thing, Ms. Moore, anything that you want to give from the purchasing side, any requirements or things that we did not cover that we need to cover?
No, I don't have anything right now, Eric.
Okay. All right. John and Jane, anything from your side that you want that we may have not covered that you want to elaborate on?
I'm good.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing some of you on our next outreach at 1 o'clock.